I'm Allie Horsfall with AGG News. Today, we will be talking about the unique place that is facing some extreme hardships. The Sahel is a semi-arid grassland area that runs along the southern edge of the Sahara Desert. It spans across Africa and is home to 10 different countries. Because of massive population growth and an unstable climate, the 60 million people living there are facing debilitating poverty, food insecurity, and acute malnutrition. Farming and herding are their main source of income, but because of widespread drought and poor agricultural practices, the land has been left barren and degraded. To talk about the Sahel's environment, we now go to our primary ecologist, Challen Hyman.
Thank you, Ali. The Sahelian savanna is a semi-arid grassland with a tropical, hot, and strongly seasonal climate. Temperatures here can range between 38 and 18 degrees Celsius. This rainfall is also highly variable, with the southern part of the Sahel receiving around 600 millimeters annually, and that number diminishing rapidly to around 200 millimeters as you approach the Sahara to the north. Most of the rainfall here is concentrated between the months of May to September, followed by an 8-month-long dry period. This accounts for the high seasonability of the area. In the southern parts of the region, acacia wooded grassland dominates, while in the northern parts of the Sahel are instead dominated by grassland able to grow in deep, sandy soil, with few wooded species able to survive. There are a variety of endemic animals in the Sahel, although the majority of them are small rodents and a variety of reptiles that do well here in the dry environment. However, massive herds of big game animals were once thriving in the area before Europeans arrived. Sadly, this game was largely killed off due to unrestricted hunting and habitat loss, causing many of these animals to go extinct. The scimitar horned oryx and at least 5 species of gazelle were once abundant and thriving in this area, but now sadly have all been wiped out. Major predators such as the lion, cheetah, and wild dog now all face extinction as well due to extreme habitat loss and poaching. The future of the Sahel is a bleak one. Habitat loss from both the encroaching Sahara due to climate change and the growing human population effectively burn the candle at both ends. Unsustainable, aggressive cash crop farming and overgrazing from the beginning in the 1950s and 60s have drained and depleted the soil of almost all nutrients. In addition to this, poor allocation of water resources in the area have drained most long-term reservoirs, like Lake Chad. Adding to this, climate models project the Sahel to grow even hotter in the 21st century, increasing evapotranspiration and contributing to even larger degrees of water loss. These phenomena set the stage for unprecedented rates of desertification. Because this ecoregion includes some of the world's poorest countries, which are already plagued by social and economic problems, they simply do not have the resources to spare for continued conservation. Thus, existing conservation efforts are inadequate and extinction rates are expected to rise. The sad forecast is simply that as temperatures rise and as the environment continues to be exploited, the Sahel will eventually succumb to the Sahara Desert. Thank you.
Thanks, Challen, and now on to Cherry for the social aspect.
Okay, today let me talk about the social impacts. It can be introduced from 2 aspects. First is migration and the second is conflicts. Migration often occurs when the livelihood cannot be maintained, so people move to other places for survival. Because of climate change in Sahel, people have faced poverty and food insecurity, so they need to move to other places. From the pictures, we can see that the people often move from Mali and Niger to Ivory Coast, because Ivory Coast is famous for its natural resources and its water, such things like this. And the second is the conflicts. The conflicts is also come from the between the farmers and herders, because during of the drought, it's common to find large numbers of dead animals in pastoral areas. In such period, pastoralists often move into the agricultural areas to find water, which cause the conflicts between them. The impact of climate change on the Sahel lead people there suffer water scarcity, health issues, food insecurity, and poverty. It is have great significance for them to understand the seriousness of the problem. Because if they don't think of some things to take actions, they will no longer survive there. So it's very important for them to know more about the impacts of climate change. Education is the most important. They need more education to change current agriculture mode, technological innovations, mainly sustainable water reallocation have the potential to offset some of these problems for agriculture and livelihood. When talking about policies, a number of adaptation policies in the region recognize the linkage between changing climate conditions and behavior responses, but few of them have included specific provisions addressing these problems. I think that the policies should be more specific to prioritize the most vulnerable areas for targeted adaptation programming and investment of adaptation funding. And simultaneously, issues of the climate change and migration are regional, but it cannot only be managed at the national level. So that's my report. Thank you.
Now for a deeper approach, we go to Harvey for the economic side.
Thanks, Allie. Poor governance and the lack of development and economic opportunity have created an economic nightmare in the Sahel. Much of the region is firmly based in agriculture. More than 70% of Cameroon, 80% of Chad, 90% of Burkina Faso, and 90% of the Nigeria's population are all completely reliant on subsistence farming to survive. As the desert expands southward, less and less land is available for farming. However, there is some good news. Many countries are pulling together to create the Great Green Wall of the South Sahara. The Green Wall will be a several kilometer deep, huge stretch of trees and shrubbery designed to stem the expansion of the Sahara southward. Billions of dollars are flowing in from all over the world, including the United States and the European Union, in order to make this possibility a reality. In addition, according to Mark Linus's book, The God Species, thanks to modern control over greenhouse gas emissions, rainfall has increased by about 40% since the 70s and 80s. We now go to Ibrahim, a researcher who has focused much of his time on studying the effects of climate change in the Sahel region.
I come from a town called Zender, which when I was younger, it was very green region. But as I grew up, I saw all those green plantations going away and leaving the place for the sand, the desert that was moving in the place. And this has affected very strongly the people's life, because people in Niger depend on agriculture. It is a very rural area, and 80% of the population depend on agriculture to live. And when you have the desert invading the arable land, that means it is no longer possible to grow crop and sustain livelihood. I fear that from now to maybe not 50 years, but 100 years, you will not see anybody in that place. Because young people, most of my friends that I grew up with, they are no longer in the country. They migrated to other places. Because, as I said, it is a very rural area. People depend on agriculture.
If nothing is done to mitigate the Sahara's advance, the Sahel will continue to suffer economic turmoil.
As you can see, climate change and human activity has greatly changed the Sahel. If appropriate action is not taken, the results could be catastrophic loss in both human life and biodiversity. Thanks for joining us.